Why do we need a registration scheme for holiday accommodation providers?
The main reason is the fact of the growth in the number of providers in the county due to the online platforms. I know everybody has to go to Airbnb, but believe me, there's plenty of other platforms there as well. So the reality is that we don't know who the providers are. And more importantly, there is a sort of belief that not all the rules, or even if any of the rules, apply to you if you distribute your business via an online platform. So this is about making sure that we can inform, educate, and train everybody to understand the rules they have to apply by. And to do that, we need to have a registration scheme.
So tell me more about the pilot scheme that Cornwall might be leading on then. I mean, who's organising it? What's the time frame?
The whole scheme has been talked, well, the whole lobbying for registration scheme has probably been in 5 to 10 years. Over the last couple of years, for obvious reasons, there's been more concern about the number of people joining, providing accommodation. And we've worked with tourism associations from Bute, Tamar Valley to Land's End. So it's designed to be a very effective and cost-effective scheme. It really is about saying you have to register, you have to input your fire risk assessment, very vital, and you have to include your insurance details. After that, they'd be contacted to say, great, you're in self-catering, these are all the rules you have to comply to. It would also provide the ability to run webinars and training sessions, but also to do sample checks to make sure people are complying.
So, I mean, this sounds a bit like, if you like, the tourism sector marking its own homework. What if people don't join in with this registration scheme? What will happen to them? Fines, imprisonment?
The first thing is it would be public protection, not visit Cornwall or associations. We would be involved in the education side. Public protection have the responsibility for doing that. The system would be, if it was carried through by Parliament, which is a quite simple process because primary legislation exists, is that none of the platforms would be able to advertise a business without the registration number. So basically, you just can't, you could put your own adverts in or do whatever you want, but you couldn't use the big platforms. You couldn't use Visit Cornwall. Now,
if the tourism sector itself can't agree on what should be in, what should be out, and what the rules and regulations are going to be, who will? Is there a risk, or as you say, if it's going to be public protection, maybe they should be leading on it anyway and drawing up potentially even tougher rules?
We're working with public protection, so there's not a problem there. And this is the debate, really, is Cornwall Council are supportive of it. I'm going to inquire with government, might be part of the Devo or the county deal. So this conversation is between the industry and Cornwall Council on what is the most efficient, effective route that can achieve safety for visitors, safety for the hosts and their neighbours, and that's the main thing this is about. But the actual really extra benefit would be data. We know there's an issue about housing, but we don't know how many properties are let. So, if you just take that aspect, because that's one of them, but also about the NHS, emergencies, even the police would find this register useful for county lines and other lewd activities that can go on in properties. So it's got a lot of uses. And what we're trying to say is let's get something simple and effective that works, that protects the public, helps everybody realize what they've got to do if they've just entered in the last couple of years, but it's got all those ancillary advantages as well.
I can imagine the civil liberties lobby starting to howl with protest here about making the register available for other purposes. But I take your point, particularly in terms of the distinction between second homes and holiday homes, which are registered for business rates, because today's Queen's speech, we're going to be hearing more about possibly doubling council tax on second homes. If that simply leads to more people under the current rules flipping the registration of those properties and then applying for an exemption on business rates, it's going to make a huge dent to Cornwall Council's revenues. So I can see why County Hall's going to be in favour of this.
Well, I think also the other thing is there are changes coming to who can get business rates classifications. I think we'd like them a bit tougher. We'd like to see it over 100 days letting, not 70. I think there's two elements here. One is to lobby to say to get your business, first of all, considered for business rates. There should be a higher threshold that you are operating as a true business. That would be one thing. And then, as you say, what else is happening about double tax on second homes? So I think this is a range of activities. One is about If you've got business rates, you've got to be a business. If you're a second home that's empty most of the time, you've got to pay more. But a registration scheme would actually help both of those areas. But its primary thing is about safety.
What do you say to people who will complain that this is the thin end of a wedge, which will eventually lead to a tourism tax?
A tourism tax, I don't believe, will happen under the present government. I think there is a debate to be had about the fair distribution of cost. At the moment, the system in anywhere in Great Britain is that, people pay their taxes on holiday. Roughly 32 pence in the pound of a holidaymaker goes in tax. It all goes to London. The only thing that sticks is car parking. So there's that debate. But if there is going to be some form of levy, tax, call it what you want, we're open to that sort of debate. But you've got to say it can't just be a hotel tax, because there's campsites, there's other things. So a debate about that equal distribution, how much has to be raised here through voluntary levies, paybacks, all sorts of smart schemes, totally open for. We know we want Cornwall to get better, not worse through tourism. Okay,
so what happens next? You've got your consultation events next week. Remind us about where and when and what people need to do. And then what happens after next week?
So the first thing is this has been in development for a couple of years, working with associations and the trade. So the event on the 19th is at 10 o'clock at Lanhydrock Golf and Hotel, Bodmin, and then at Heartlands at 2 o'clock, quick switch, so 10 till 12, 2 till 4. If they email myself, malmal@visitcornwall.com, or Charlotte at visit.com, then they can register. We will be setting up a Zoom. It will be recorded, so those who can't make it are there. What do we hope is we want to extend the conversation to others within the sector. You will know, Graham, that danger is if all of a sudden the government goes, yes, you can do it, Cornwall Council crack on and do it, then it will be, we need to spend this time ahead of it, making sure we get the right balance of that it's not arduous, but it's also robust enough to be meaningful.
So do you think that this registration scheme will be up and running, that there will be a register of licensed holiday accommodation providers by next year? Could it be that soon?
Legally, that could be the case. This is the ANORAC bit coming in now. In the 1969 Tourism Development Act, it went through primary legislation that there could be a registration scheme in Britain. So actually, all you have to do is an amendment to the existing act, which can be put through Parliament on a Thursday afternoon and in an hour. But obviously, the 1969 Act is a bit dated now, talking about the British Tourist Authority and all sorts. So it's a very wide sweeping act. So no primary legislation, adjustment in Parliament. So in principle, if the government, Cornwall Council, it could be running from next year.
I think we're in for an interesting few months while local councillors get their heads around this and start debating it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Good luck with your events next week. I'll no doubt talk to you about this in the months ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers, Graham.